it's Lee from coloringqueen.net, and I just wanted to show you my new colouring cave and office that I share with my other half, David. So please excuse me at the moment, it's very hard to hold the camera and twirl about, and I also have a sinus infection, so my voice might sound a bit weird. And my new little office helper, Millie, the kitty, is also helping me, so you might hear some meows or purrs as well as she gets involved. So this office is probably about a third of the size of space that we had in Sydney before we moved, if you've seen that video, and we're still in a bit of a renovation zone. Instead of the bookcases that we used to have, we've got these cheap metal racks. They usually go in a garage, but because the bookcases won't fit here, we're using those. And what I've done is just organise my pencils, etc. in that. And if you've seen previous videos of my previous office, you'll know that I've organised it differently. And the reason for that is that I binge watched Mario Kondo, the Japanese tidying up fairy and the inventor of the KonMari method. And she basically says that tidying organises the mind and cleaning purifies it. And the process is pretty simple. You organise things by category rather than room. You store things vertically and you store the most used at the front, and you keep things that spark joy for you and dispose of things that don't. So I started watching Maria when we were renovating, and there are a lot of times that I couldn't do anything because of the renovation situation, so it was just watch TV. And it really appealed to me because I love order. It makes me feel super calm. And I'm also, when we're not in a renovation zone, I'm a bit of a neat freak. For those that don't know, I suffer from bouts of anxiety and depression, and things that are tidy actually have a very calming effect on me. And things that upset me, like mess and chaos and doing 2 house renovations while living it in a year, make me an anxious mess. So nice organised spaces is what makes me happy. I've tried my best to apply Maria's method to a colouring situation. When I applied her method to the kitchen and the bathroom, it worked perfectly. But in the colouring cave, not so much. One of the big problems that I had was I couldn't store everything vertically, like my large boxes of pencils, but I figure I'll keep them horizontally because I know they're Holbeins or Prismacolors or whatnot. And I can't store them vertically because the shelf is not wide enough and they fall down if I turn them around. The craft trolley that I used to have my pencils in has now been relegated to a craft supply trolley, and it's a bit of a dog's breakfast because, again, organising the craft supplies vertically is not as easy as you might think either. So what I did was I got a lot of the little cardboard boxes that we got the downlights in when we put in new power and lighting, and I cut those up and I used those for a lot of things, but quite frankly I ran out of so many boxes that you need to store things in the way Maria sort of recommends. So I'm sure if she came around, she would have lots of suggestions for me on things that I could do differently. And I still need to organise. Over in the corner, I've got my printer and a spare laptop and my paper supply. And I still need to figure out how I'm going to store that paper vertically so that I can easily find which one that I want. So I'm not sure on quite a few things as yet. And look, if you've done this in your colouring or crafting room, I'd love to hear about it. Now, of course, one of the big things that Maria says is if you should only have 30 books. And when I investigated that, she didn't mean 30 books and this is a must-have and it's carved in stone. Because quite frankly, we all know that I've got more than 30 colouring books, and I've actually got a ton of textbooks, fiction books, recipe books, tattoo books, you name it, I've got it. So this whole 30 books wasn't going to work for me. But when I delved in, what she actually says is that she likes to keep 30 books. That's her. But if you have an item that sparks joy with you, then you should keep it. Even if it's a ratty old pen, you should still keep it. Because if you can see it going forward into the future with you, then that's an item that you should keep. And you might see my little puppy dog Charlie asleep on the floor in here too. And I did this before I watched Maria. I'm probably the only person in the world that hasn't heard of her. So when we left Sydney, I realised that this new house wasn't going to have the amount of space, and I realised I wouldn't be able to fit my colouring books in. You guys have seen, I think, 7 videos of my colouring book collection, but I've actually filmed 11. There's 4 more that are sitting on my external hard drive. I haven't uploaded those for 2 reasons. First of all, the external drive has had a little bit of a meltdown, and I'm not sure that I'll be able to recover them. The second reason is every time I do a collection video, I get quite a lot of negativity, and that's fine. I'm quite thick-skinned, but it does take away a bit of my joy, and I don't know whether I'm actually prepared to have my joy dampened in that particular way. So we'll see if I upload those or not. But notwithstanding that, I know that they're there, and I also knew that I couldn't fit them all in here. I filmed those before we left Sydney. Even though I hadn't watched Maria, I had actually sorted my colouring books out in a traffic light system when we were in Sydney. So I had boxes that had a green label on them, green meaning go, and they were to go here to Queensland. And I had boxes labelled red, which meant they should stay in Sydney, and of course a amber or yellow box, which meant if we've got room for it, we can take it with. So of course we didn't have room, so yellow and red are still in Sydney. And I made that decision because I knew there was no space for them, but I also only wanted to bring things with me that I really, really loved and that obviously sparked joy, even though I didn't know that expression back then. And the reason that they didn't spark joy was because a lot were purchased earlier on. I've had this channel since 2015, I think. 2016, one of those, a while. And things that I bought earlier, and I'd had the books a lot earlier before the channel, things that I bought earlier no longer gave me the same feeling of satisfaction. I'd changed. The type of artwork I like has changed. The type of things that I like to colour in has changed. Even though there's nothing wrong with the colouring books, and they're certainly beautiful and I don't hate them or anything, they just don't give me the joy that I would like to bring forward with me in the future. So I definitely have more than 30 colouring books, and I've got more than 30 here in Brisbane with me. They're just still in boxes or still in plastic containers and not unpacked. I've got one bookshelf full of colouring books in the spare room, but David sort of helped organise my colouring books, and actually I think we all know where this is going now. They're completely out of order, and I have no idea what's been filmed and what hasn't at this stage, so I have to sort through those. But I definitely have more than 30. I've probably got, about 500 or something here with me. So I've only got a small amount of colouring books here in the room with me. And a couple of reasons for that: I don't have room for any more. And I noticed that when I had all the books in the room with me, it did 2 things to me. It made me feel enclosed, that I was surrounded by them and sort of felt a bit pressured by them. And it also was quite distracting because I couldn't decide. I had so many. I couldn't decide which one that I wanted to pick up and look at and choose or colour in because there were too many choices. So when you've got too many choices, as most studies show, you tend to make no choice at all, and because it's just too overwhelming. What I've done is I put them all in another room, and I've got to say I'm so much more happier, relaxed and productive not having them with me. And I only have the ones that I'm working on, which is, at the moment, it's World of Flowers. I've been working on that for months now, and I'm quite happy just to have a couple of books in the room with me, and the ones that I'm working on. When I don't want to work on that, then I go in and have a look at the bookcase and I see, what inspires me. So the last thing that I want to show you before we leave is Millie. She's my kitty, and David adopted her for me for my birthday. She was my birthday present, and I've had her for almost 2 weeks now, and I really couldn't imagine life without her. She really is just adorable. She's doing all the typical cat things, waking me up at 3 in the morning, lying on every colouring page I'm trying to colour in, lying on the keyboard, and basically being a proper cat. And I just love it. She is just so beautiful. She's meowing now, but she is absolutely adorable. I love her to bits and pieces. So there we have it, the quick tour of the colouring cave and a quick reason on why I decided to organise it that way. And if anyone has any ideas on how Maria would actually organise a colouring room, I'd love to hear them. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but it's still a work in progress. But that's it for me. Until next time, happy colouring.